Good morning, friends, and happy Mother's Day. It's delightful to see all of you who are here today. I know many of us feel that desire to be with our loved ones in the world of spirit, our loved ones who are no longer here in the physical. And for those of us who do still have our mothers here or our children here, it just makes the whole day worthwhile. You know, anyone can do a little research on Mother's Day, and I'm no exception. I can Google with the best of them. I found a few things out that I didn't know before, however. I found out that Mother's Day, first of all, is not just an American tradition. There are many, many countries who celebrate mothers on a particular day of the year. Usually it is in the springtime. It's in March or April or May, not necessarily the second Sunday in May as it is here in America. We know that there was a Mother's Day proclamation given by Julia Ward Howe. This was in 1870. This was before Mother's Day was established. And it was said that she had this proclamation because she felt that women needed to be more involved in, of all things, politics. But the reason for her proclamation was we had just had a Civil War. And if you read her proclamation, it's really very strident. It's very strong. And she talks about the pity of mothers raising their sons, and then at some point their sons may be expected to kill other mothers' sons. And it goes on. She was a pretty fiery lady, obviously. Well, I don't know of any mother or dad, for that matter, who deliberately wants to send our sons or daughters off to war. We try to teach harmony. We try to teach peace. We try to teach love. Sometimes people are in a position where they don't receive that. And then we have to do all that we feel we can to help someone else get the strength that they perhaps could not find anywhere else. Anna Jarvis in 1912 was the one who actually got a president to say, all right, let's name the second Sunday in May every year Mother's Day. And we will proclaim this nationwide and celebrate mothers for the love, the caring, the nurturing that they give. And so it is. Now, many people say, whether it's Mother's Day, Father's Day, or a lot of other holidays during the year, that it must have surely been founded by a card company or florists, for that matter. But you know, it is a tradition that has been around for centuries. Not necessarily in America, but for centuries. The Catholic Church, of course, has been around a long time. And when you talk about mothers within the Catholic Church, of course it's almost always Mary, Mother of Jesus. There is so much emphasis placed on the importance that she had. The Hindu religion, centuries before the Americans got around to it, the Hindu religion celebrates the importance of mothers. They don't call it Mother's Day, they call it the Mother Pilgrimage Fortnight. Mother's Day is a little easier to say, isn't it? And you know, Islam, and we hear a lot about Islam, they don't really favor Mother's Day. And the reason for that is because their book, the Quran, teaches that women and mothers are sacred. And they don't need to be honored one day a year. It's supposed to be every day of the year. What about those who didn't have such great moms? And I'm really blessed. I have a wonderful mom, and I'm very glad that we're still able to celebrate Mother's Day together. We celebrated it yesterday. We went out to Old Town, and we rode the merry-go-round and the Ferris wheel. And it was great. It's wonderful to still have a wonderful mother and one who is still here in the physical. And we should never take that for granted. Many people, whatever their age, have a mother who has already made her transition. She is already in the world of spirit. And you know, of course we're going to have that physical loss. Of course we are. But as spiritualists, aren't we blessed to know that our mothers, our grandmothers, someone who was like a mother or grandmother, even though in spirit can still come very close, we can still feel that wonderful, loving energy. Oftentimes people will get a scent. They're not thinking of anything in particular. They're doing something rather mindless, in fact, and all of a sudden they'll get a scent of dusting powder or a certain kind of soap, a certain kind of flower. And instantly our mind goes back to that wonderful woman who used that. That quick. We don't need to see her or hear her or even physically touch her. It's just right there, and we know she is too. Native American culture truly celebrates the importance of the woman. As a girl makes her passage into womanhood, there is usually great ceremony. And she is looked at quite differently from that point on. We know that many cultures celebrate and sometimes separate male and female. The greeting card companies, the television shows of old, many of the traditional teachings celebrate women for their gifts, celebrate men for their gifts. Spiritualism celebrates both and encourages people to have the strength, to have the energy, to be independent, to be self-sufficient. Spiritualism also encourages and allows men to be nurturing, loving, caring, and let it show. You know, years ago, there was this persona that men had to be strong. They had to be the strong, silent type. And then along came the television shows in the 50s where mom was always a stay-at-home mom in her house dress, high heels, and pearls. And dad usually wore a business suit, carried a briefcase, and went to work every day. Mom dealt with the kids through the day, and if it was something really important, then dad would give his fatherly wisdom. Well, nowadays families have shifted and changed a lot. Nowadays it's sadly unusual for a child to have both parents in the home. And when both parents are in the home, sometimes neither is really there because they're so caught up in so many other things. If the mother has a full-time job, the dad has a full-time job, They may not be on the same work schedule. Children are usually involved in different activities once they get into school. So somebody's trying to arrange for carpooling or getting the kid to this practice and someone else picking the child up. Families are changing. The world is changing. And as spiritualists, I think we're very, very blessed to acknowledge that while we may not always want to do it all, technically we're capable. Technically we're capable. Families have changed. Once upon a time, families grew up in the same small town, multiple generations shared a home, and kids had to behave because everybody knew them. And if they misbehaved, they knew it would go back to their parents, sometimes before they even got back home. So things are changing, and yet we're all very dependent on one another. Now, does that go against spiritualism's teachings of being very self-sufficient? No, it does not. We know if we want something, if we desire a change in our life, we desire something wonderful, we know we have to put forth that effort. Ron and I attended a wonderful seminar that took one entire weekend. And this particular gentleman teaching the seminar several times referenced, I'm not into woo-woo type people or beliefs. Okay, I took that with a smile, so did Ron. And yet, during that seminar, I heard the law of attraction. I heard the importance of positive thought. I heard thoughts are things. I heard so many spiritualist teachings, and yet this man said he's not into woo-woo. Well, I don't know that spiritualists are into woo-woo either. We just know the truth. We know natural law, and we know that as we live within it, so our lives will fall into place. So I have a few of that gentleman's books. I think I'm going to share a few of mine with him. I think he may change his terminology. And the wonderful thing was, many of us broke up into groups during the weekend, and the women were laughing and saying, all right, if he has to spell it out like this to get the men's attention, fine. But we know what he's talking about. We know. Spiritualists know. We know that we can love and support, we can cry, we can be very angry. It doesn't matter if we're a man or a woman or a mother or a dad. I see some gentlemen here who may not have any children at all. But I know they have pets, and boy, they're a daddy to those pets. We know men who may not have children, but they can sink their hands into the earth and grow phenomenal living things. We know men who may not be a dad, and yet they're the first ones there if a friend or a coworker has a problem. You don't have to biologically be a parent to be loving and giving and nurturing and sometimes scolding. We need to remember that each one of us is here for a purpose. That's important. If you don't know anything else about your purpose, if you feel like, well, I'm not there yet, I don't know that I'm in the career I want, or I don't really feel like I'm in there yet, know this: your main purpose in life is to unconditionally love others. Now, nobody said it's easy, and that's part of the growing process. That's the one thing we are here for. People who have had near-death experiences time and time again have stayed on this earth plane, but with a totally different attitude. Because now they get it. Now they get it. If we could accept one another and love one another, how could there be war? If we could love one another and accept one another, how could there be poverty or starvation? It couldn't happen. Think about yourselves in this week to come. Think about your actions and think about what you say and think about your thoughts. Last night I was getting my thoughts together with Spirit about today's sermon, and I kept using the word stressed or stresses. This religion stressed so-and-so. And I thought, isn't that a negative word? Never really thought about it before. How much better to say emphasizes rather than stressed or stresses. Emphasize. So I'm doing a lot of inward searching. I've got a long way to go, but I'm working on it. And I encourage you to do the same. It's time for all of us to climb out of our rut. Celebrate our mothers. Celebrate anyone in your life who encouraged you, who loved you, who taught you. And give thanks for that person. Not just one day a year, but every day. God bless you.